Welcome in to Bears Weekly, powered by IGS Energy, a Chicago Bears network production. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, CD Gallagher, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
Hey, everybody, back with you. Talking Bears football here on Bears Weekly. Last week of OTAs for the Bears. Limited, though. Rookies, probably some young players, special teams work. Father's Day coming up on Sunday, so happy Father's Day, Jim Miller. And Cole Kmet got married over the weekend. So saw some pictures of that. So congratulations to Cole and his new bride. NFL writer still churning out copy, trying to get a handle on what's to come in the 2025 season, including the Bears. We'll dig into some of that as well. Tonight on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer and Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio. I'm Jeff Joniak. We'll hear tonight from Grady Jarrett. Tom and I visited with him recently, so we'll explore the Bears' defense in detail tonight. Dan Barilli, Jordan Treadup is our producing crew, and in the ESPN studios, I think for the first time, we welcome in Jake Santos, the executive producer of the Bears Radio Network, Eric Ostrowski. Good evening, gentlemen. Never shortage of information. Tom, I was listening to Jim on SiriusXM, working in the yard this afternoon, and I was rolling because, you know, these fans they're great. Fans are great. We're first couple weeks of June here. We're still a bit of a way from the start of training camp, and everybody is they're lit up. They're just ready to go. They're ready to talk, discuss, argue, and you're not too shy about jumping in the pool with them, Jim.
No, not at all. Not at all, because this is what we do every single day, and you know, I remember a lot of things. You know, I remember certain callers that call in and are adamant about their beliefs, but hey, fans can get it wrong just like GMs get it wrong. Say on the selection of a quarterback. There's been numerous teams that have got it wrong. Bears are one of them. There's other teams that have got it wrong. There's no harm, no foul. You got to keep on taking swings at the plate until you get your guy. And hopefully Caleb Williams is that guy for the Chicago Bears. But, yeah, there was a call that called in, was adamant about their quarterback, and, boy, they quickly jumped ship. And they were pointing towards this year rather than last year when they were banging the drum about their guy that they believed was the guy, and now they quickly moved away from that guy. But if GMs do that, they're fired. Coaches are fired. Players are fired. GMs are fired. All new regimes are brought in. And so that's great for fans to say that at home on their lawnmower, but they're not getting fired, right? So jobs get lost and families get moved, and it's a big business.
Well, you know what,
Tommy?
One thing about the NFL, so there's stories they start Jair Alexander, the linebacker from Cincinnati. So those are things that the fans pay attention to, whether it's in your city or if they're just fans of the NFL. But I also think it's probably one of the more important times of the year that's going to dictate the success and failure of a player's career, because everything that happens from the draft until the last OTA, you have an itinerary, you have a schedule, you're inside the building, you're learning about your football team and all the elements that are involved, from the weight room to the cafeteria to the on-field requirements to the new offense and defense that's being installed. But now you have a 6-week opportunity, and what are you going to do with it? And the great Clyde Emmerich used to say it takes you 2 days to get out of shape and 2 weeks to get in shape. So don't come back to camp thinking that you're going to have time to get yourself in shape before you become competitive. Then you're going to see the season in your rearview mirror. And then the same thing with your tablet. If you can take your tablet home and you can invest a lot of time in studying this information so you hit the ground running when training camp starts again, I do think it's one of the most important times of a player's career that they control themselves and they don't have somebody looking over their shoulder. So when you say we got one more week of OTAs, when they get ready to go home, it's not about a 6 weeks vacation. You can have some vacation time, but make sure you're staying prepared for what's required of you from the very first morning you get back to training camp.
Basically, you're saying you got to be a self-starter. You got to be a self-starter when you leave the building. You got to rely on your execution and your discipline. Now, I got to ask both of you guys, because you guys didn't have tablets back in the day. So whatever off season, did you spend a lot of time watching film, the actual film? Did you guys do this, or what did you guys do?
Well, for me, I was fortunate to be in the system for so long that you kind of went right back to muscle memory. So we spent more time in the facility lifting weights with our teammates inside Old Hallis Hall, which was the size of a wedding reception hall. It wasn't like where they have now. So we were still around each other, and we had a lot of football conversation, and we were encouraging each other in the weight room, and we were under the guidance of Clyde Emmerich. So we had that part of it offered to us that made us a closer team and better players. Nowadays, it seems like everybody scatters and they go in 1,000 different directions. So, yeah, the requirements of what the coaching staff is going to expect of you is going to be proven within the first 3 days you get back to camp.
Jim, if you had a tablet back in the day, would you have been even more prepared, or was the tape in the building enough?
No, I think I would be more prepared because it's with you all the time now. So you could actually take the tablet out to, say, a football field where you're working and maybe go through a script. That's what I used to do. We watched all the tape, like during the OTAs and the mini camps. Because, again, back in the day, we just had a rookie mini camp and a veteran mini camp, and then you were gone. But you watched all that tape before you left the building. But what I would do is I'd take the scripts. So I'd take the scripts home with me, and what I would do is then I would go out to a football field, and I'd say, all right, we're going to run, 82 dig. And it says on the script what coverage it's going to be. And so I'd just simulate the play. I would go through my reads, what coverage it is, and then I'd throw out scenarios. All right, let's say now we'll do cover 2. Now we'll do cover 6. So I'd just throw out different coverages. Where would I go in this scenario? So I'd go through the script. So then I would simulate drives. So you have your first and second down, like when you're doing your inside run, that you go through all the footwork in that period. Then you'd go through, your team period for run play action plays. I would go through all my footwork in that, what I'd be thinking, would I audible any plays against the defense we were against. Then I'd go through all of 7-on-7 because that's all passing stuff I'd want to know, all the coverages, what are my drops, what would I check to, all those types. And then you got your team period. So you just roll through the scripts, and it's going to give you a lot of different looks.
Who were you throwing to?
On that high school kids, you name it. Anybody
really?
I could.
Did you start plucking guys off the street? What'd you do?
Yeah, I'd go up to old high schools, and guys would be out there working out for their high school. Say, hey man, you mind catching some footballs? Yeah, they were up for it, and that's what you do.
That's great. That's awesome. That's good old fashioned football right there. Tommy, did you ever run the hill with Walter Payton?
I never did. I never wanted to, because I heard so many horror stories of guys showing up and kind of challenging him inside the locker room, and he would say, okay, just show up and we'll run it. And there's a lot of guys that he left in the dust. But the thing about Walter, when he went to run the hill, he was taped up, he was spatted, he had his kind of his running uniform on that he put on, and he took it really serious and had those spikes in his shoes that were grabbing into that hill. And listen, Jeff, if you weren't really honestly ready and prepared and understood how to run that hill, there wasn't a lot of guys that were able to do it. So one off season, I went down to Houston, and when my buddy from college, Larry Moriarty, was playing for the Houston Oilers, they had a 40-yard ramp that was covered in AstroTurf. And so I went through a series of a couple weeks of running this incline with these guys. And they did a bunch of different drills to lengthen your stride, to shorten your stride, to power and all that. And so I knew it wasn't the same as Walter's hill because his was a lot harder, a lot longer. And, Walter was Walter Payton. But when I went down and I was kind of encouraged and excited to be around some other guys from another football team, it was kind of neat to do. But Walter, no. And like I said, I heard a lot of horror stories about guys leaving before Walter was done. And I think it kind of encouraged Walter a little bit more to leave these guys in the dust.
Yeah, no question. Jim, what's the craziest training that you ever did? Like, maybe it would be out of the norm that others would say, you didn't do that. I know it's different for a quarterback. You're throwing passes, you're staying in shape, but anything crazy you did in an off season as you remember, or somebody recommended something? I mean, nowadays it could be, it could be anything. It could be Pilates, could be boxing, could be whatever. Did you do anything crazy?
Well, Greg Lloyd got me into Taekwondo. He was a black belt in Taekwondo. I mean, it did help me in flexibility, but I was like learning patterns and stuff to get another belt, and I was like, man, what am I doing here? Let's just go throw the ball. I'm doing like back kicks and stuff. I'm like, who am I going to be back kicking, dropping back on a 7-step drop? What I mean? So I was like, enough of what am I doing? All right, Greg, this may work for Greg Lloyd, who's going after people, but it wasn't the best thing for me.
So it was a bust.
Yeah, it was a bust.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, we'll talk some serious ball. We'll talk with Grady Jarrett. He's coming up next. The Bears' new defensive tackle here on ESPN, Chicago, and the Bears Radio Network.
This is Bears Weekly with the voice of the Bears for 24 years, Jeff Joniak, on the Bears Radio Network.
And this segment of Bears Weekly brought to you by IGS Energy. Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer, and Jim Miller from SiriusXM NFL Radio. 10-year Atlanta Falcon, now a first-year Chicago Bear defensive tackle Grady Jarrett, kind enough to sit down with Tom and I recently. And I brought it up to him that when Tom's scouting reports, when the Bears played the Falcons, were always about Jarrett. Like whenever the Bears meant he was going to be the most difficult assignment. And in 3 games, couple sacks, 6 tackles, a stuff, 3 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for loss, and a pass breakup against the Bears in those 3 games in which Grady Jarrett won 2. So that was my entree into the conversation with a veteran defensive tackle, along with Tommy.
It's going to be a problem, Jeff. And you have been a problem for opposing offenses. Now you can be a problem for us in a good way. How good does that sound to you that somebody looks at you that way?
Man, it sounds amazing. It's just respect, and I always wanted the way that I play the game to stand out, and I think it has, and I just want to continue to get better every year, so I'm excited to be playing for the Bears now, bring that energy, that passion to Chicago and try to go get some wins and go dominate this line of scrimmage.
Did you always know your template was going to be successful in the NFL? And what I'm saying is you talk about the changes. You're not going to become taller, and you're going to become
that's real, yeah.
But so your size has been an asset to you. Do you feel that?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a shorter defensive tackle, knowing the things that I needed to be better at, knowing your limitations is a strength as well, because I'm gonna have to be a little quicker, I'm gonna have to be a little faster, a little stronger, and that has contributed to my game. And so there's no secret about the things that whether it's scouting or people try to hold against me, but I only can control what I can control, and I can make the most out of the things that I can, and I feel like I've done a really good job for myself up to this point, and I would just want to continue to get better. Here now going into year 11 in a new place with some new teammates, and I'm ready to just go dominate.
Did you ever compare notes with Aaron Donald?
Did you ever compare notes?
Because you guys have a similar style of play, explosiveness, size, and everything.
Yeah, but people always love to throw our names in there every time I do something good. Somebody has bring them up every time. So it's definitely.
But you kind of set the tone.
For sure. But no, I definitely respect everything about him. But I think just that shorter, quicker defensive tackle that's explosive, that can play sideline to sideline is kind of the thing that people talking about when they speak about.
I got a question for you. As a former NFL starting guard, how would you deal with Grady? Because I always ask him, hey, who was the guy that kept you up at night? It was always Reggie White. Reggie White kept you up at night, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. But Reggie White's size and power and everything.
Yeah.
In terms of
I don't know how I would ever win leverage against you because, and I'm not that much taller than you, but again, your explosiveness, how low to the ground, your innate ability to understand the rhythm of a snap count.
Yep.
So I would be thinking about all these types of things of
worry about him getting on your edges.
But I would beg the tackle in the center that I'm playing next to.
Yeah.
If Grady is in that gap, at least give me a
don't
hand.
Leave too early. Don't leave too early. Don't leave too early. And they like to get on me quick. Like they like to try to get me before I get going. So I got to give myself a space off the ball, a good bit of time. And if I do crowd the ball, sometimes it's for a good reason. So I kind of at this point know where the guys try to stop me pretty good. Like versus like chest punches, they try to punch me like in the face, neck area type because it's like it's stuff that they be trying, but at the end
it's
of the
not
day,
working.
You catch that chin, that helmet to the bottom of their chin strap, then they get them right.
So because you have so much experience in the league, do you pay attention to any of the conversation of the offensive linemen or the way they're kind of acting in the huddle in preparation for not something necessarily they're going to do to you, but what they're going to do in the next play or down the distance? Yeah,
you definitely pick up a little bit of dialect sometime, like or calls, and they'll give you a fake call sometime. Like they'll act like they're about to W, and they'll be like double, and they'll try to run a trap play or something to get me going upfield. And but I think more than anything, you just got to really study your tape and really just trust your instincts, because if you get too caught up in trying to listen trying to cheat code every time, you can mess yourself up. You slow yourself down. So and then just like us on defense, I'm sure they change calls sometime week to week. So if you get a beat on something, it'll help you maybe a couple plays a game, but it ain't nothing that you want to hang your hat on all game just because it never stays the same.
I know this is almost cliche nowadays in the scouting world, and I follow that considerably, the phrases and the terminology. But you guys are both heavyweight wrestlers.
Yep.
Back in the day.
Yep.
It's significant. It's important. I look at offensive line. If they get a wrestler, I know we got some good hand fighting. We got some strength. They care about the weight room, the leverage.
Stuff like that.
Is that beneficial? Was that beneficial?
Yeah, I absolutely think it was. That definitely was beneficial being a wrestler in high school. I think just the principles of it, whether just from the mindset, just discipline, mindset of competing. Like you say, the training is different. The competition is different. You only got 3 rounds or like 2 minutes, so it's like you pushing yourself to the max, you know what I'm saying, to try to beat another man one-on-one, you know what I'm saying, and then just the principles that you learn from movement, leverage, stuff like that, it just kind of naturally trans over to the football field, especially for linemen, and so I think that's something that I was like redirected in through coming up through school. I never was like, I want to be on a wrestling team. The truth of the matter was I was trying to be on the basketball team in middle school and got cut. And
unlike Michael Jordan, who got cut, he made it there. You did not.
So I pivoted, went to wrestling, and it's really helped me in my football career. And everything happened for a reason. And I'm a big advocate of wrestling. Even just as child development, I think it helps them with their confidence and gets them competing, doing some stuff, and just learning how to protect yourself a little bit sometimes when you get grappling. So it's just awesome.
So your dad played in the NFL, great linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. First, what did he teach you about how to play the position? And does he tell you that the defensive tackle position is the most important to middle linebacker success?
Not necessarily. Our relationship growing up was good. I didn't grow up in the same household as him, so we really didn't talk ball much at all, if ever. But he had to have a great career with the Falcons, and it was super, super cool to be able to, play for the same team he did. Right. How it happened was really crazy. Because a lot of people never knew that he had another son, and so just cool how how funny a guy works and put things together. So it was pretty cool, and but just watching him just play the game was really good. My biggest kind of influence from a former player standpoint probably was like Ray Lewis. Was somebody who was close in my life that I watched to just, be the best at what they doing, playing the middle linebacker position, and just one of the best players to ever play the game, and the way he went about his business, and just
you call him Uncle, don't you?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
You guys are tight.
Yeah, we're real tight, and
nice.
So I was able to work out with him a lot growing up, and with his sons and stuff like that. So that was cool, and definitely contributed to my career.
Why number 50?
Number 50 was my first number that I had playing football, for the Rockdale Patriots, and then so through Little League, kind of went through the numbers. Like they changed up a little bit. I had 50 a couple of times, and then when I started playing in high school, it was like and I was a guard / defensive lineman.
Attaboy.
So I didn't want like a 90s number, because I had to play guard too. So I didn't want to wear like no 60 numbers, but the 50s was open. The 50 was right there. So let me get 50. So I really wore 50 all the way through high school, through college. And then when I first got in the league, they really wasn't letting D linemen wear 50s until like a couple years after that. So, but 97 was open, like only 90 numbers. So that's how I got 97 in Atlanta. You know, fell in love with that, made it my own. And then, Patrick Kearney wore before me. He was balling in the A. So, and then I had the opportunity to come here, and Andrew Billings already was 97, and all the other 90 numbers were kind of taken, and 50 was open. So I was like, maybe because, full circle moment, go back to 50. But then I wanted to check and make sure, because I know Mike Singletary wore 50 here. So I'm like, let me make sure it's not like a thing, or like see like, if it's like a retired, what's the parameter. So I asked, and I had looked in it, but I seen guys been wearing 50 for the past couple of years. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, cool. So it ain't really, not much about it. So I was like, shoot, I would like to wear 50. And so cool, let me get 50. And then from there, then I start getting like people like, why isn't 50 retired? I'm like, look, nobody said nothing else to nobody about 50. Then I could get 50, but I can understand, being like a top defensive player coming to get it. So I mean, I know what the weight hold, and I would definitely understand the significance of it. And it just give me motivation, try to be my best. You know what I'm saying? And I know that means a lot to Bears fans. So that I got to go do what I got to do to represent.
Well, it looks good on you, and Singletary would be proud of you.
No question.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And a two-time Walter Payton nominee in Atlanta. He black for Walter Payton, so it's all coming.
It's all coming
again,
full circle.
like you said, meant to be.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, I believe
being here.
No, without a doubt. Yeah. I couldn't think about being in a better place right now, man. It's just so much transition that happened, and not only in the football career, but in life too. And it's been good. And like I said before, it's been refreshing. And I'm not gonna let this opportunity slip.
It's been refreshing for us as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I tell you, Tommy, and I think I said this early in that interview that I edited some of it out, but for time constraints. But he's probably I'm most intrigued of the veteran additions by this player, just because of what he means in the locker room, what he's going to mean for that defensive line, and the energy he'll bring to training camp and practice and every day. He's a fun guy, and he's full go every single day.
Well, there's a couple guys like Javon Dexter Sr., Zach Pickens, and even Sherman, the new guy we drafted. All these guys can learn a little bit from him. Not only how to prepare yourself during practices, how to prepare yourself for the game, how to become a better football player, and he leads by example. And two things I would like to ask him is the influence of Ray Lewis, the wrestler, on him. And if he could ever take a guy like Gable Steveson, who is a great wrestler from University of Minnesota who tried out for Buffalo last year and didn't make it, could he take a great wrestler and turn him into a great football player? So remember those questions for the next time we get to talk to him.
Right. Maybe Jim can answer that as well. Wrestlers turn to football players. There's a lot of them. And, it's the leverage. It's got to be the strength, but you got to have the mental capacity to handle this sport as well, and the feet, right?
Yeah, I always bring up Carlton Hasselrick. He was, was a world record holder, and he was basically on a practice squad essentially back in the day. He basically just developed year one, and then his second year he became a starter and was all pro. I mean, this guy could snatch and just throw people to the ground. But the numerous wrestlers, as Tom had pointed out, I mean, look at Tristan Wirfs. There's just a ton of offensive linemen that they just really know leverage if they have a wrestling background where they really excel at the game of leverage.
You look at guys like Matt Suey, Jay Hilgenberg, John Wojciechowski, Jimbo Covert. They were all great wrestlers throughout their time in high school.
Olin.
Olin, yeah. And it all translated to being a great football player. And a lot of it has to do with your hard work ability, because it's a hard working sport.
Yep. When in the trenches, that helps. That man type of activity that you have to beat the guy across from the line of scrimmage. All right, we'll dig deeper into the defensive line and the defense in general. We'll go through each player and see how they all fit for the Bears as training camp approaches. This is Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly on the Bears Radio Network. Here's your host, the voice of the Bears, Jeff Joniak.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Just heard from the Bears' new defensive tackle, Grady Jarrett. So let's look at the rest of the defensive line, guys. Let's see how it stacks up headed to training camp. There's a lot of guys on the line of scrimmage. The guys we're most familiar with and could see being in the rotation as starters and getting some relief from some of these backups. But you got Montez Sweat. And again, no depth chart, so this is just me talking. Montez Sweat and Dio Adengbo on the edges. Javon Dexter Sr. and Grady Jarrett on the inside. There'll be competition. There'll be, let's see who starts where. Andrew Billings certainly in early downs is a weapon, was outstanding against the run last year. The run game suffered with his absence last year. And then in the rotation, Shamar Stewart, Zach Pickens, and then two gentlemen that I am going to keep an eye on. Now, the old staff really like what they had to do. Let's find out what Dennis Allen thinks about the play of Chris Williams and Jonathan Ford. Jonathan Ford was a late-season addition, had some really good efforts in there, good games, and Chris Williams surprised us all season long. So let's just start with that group for starters and how it all stacks up and what Dennis Allen, Tommy, we'll start with you, could do with this kind of rotation of talent here. They're all different types of players.
Yeah, and I think down and distance is going to be very specific about what they can contribute on the defensive line and how many plays they can play. Because if you look at a guy like Andrew Billings, he's a legitimate zero-technique, run-stuffing nose guard that can take on multiple blockers, but I think Dennis Allen wants guys that can get upfield. So is he able to transfer his game to the style of what Dennis Allen wants? You know that Javon Dexter Sr. and Grady Jarrett and Turner, these guys got the explosiveness to get upfield, and we'll see how that plays a part in their role in this team. And then you got Zach Pickens. Here's a guy that shows he's has some explosiveness. Now he's got to develop that type of trait into an effective interior style of play. And then when you talk about the outside guys, Montez and Dio, yeah, you have those guys, but you can't live life in the NFL with two outside rushers. If you don't have a minimum of 4, it's going to be tough for you to really translate into a good exterior pass rushing football team if you're expecting 2 guys to take a bulk of the work. And so when you talk about every guy, they're going to develop what their traits are, what their assets are, and how they can get better in the style and the demands of Dennis Allen.
Yeah, I think, it's going to be down in distance. Guys are going to have to earn it. I think Dennis Allen has a good idea about what he thinks guys can do, but once the pads are on, I think that's going to dictate it, and guys will be competing for jobs. And I do think it'll be a rotational type of thing where guys are going to earn snap counts. And again, you don't want to wear guys out either. They're going to have a good rotation because that's just where kind of the NFL is now, with especially 4-man fronts. You see a lot of teams rolling. They're going to roll 8 guys in there, essentially. Look at Buffalo. Look at a lot of the 4-man teams out there. They're rolling guys through. And I would think the Bears, because really Montez Sweat, does anybody else have the credentials that say that they're guaranteed to start opposite him? No, I don't think anybody's credentialed. That's kind of going to have to be earned. And I would think up front, other than what Tom said about Andrew Billings, say on first and second down, stopping the run, yeah, I think Grady Jarrett has earned it. No names after that, though. Those guys got to earn it.
Yeah, and then the others on the edges, Dominique Robinson certainly got some good praise from head coach Ben Johnson as somebody that surprised him during the OTA session, the offseason program. Austin Booker, second year, still very young, flashed, has the length, likely needs to add some more weight, not sure where that's at. And Daniel Hardy, who, as I proclaimed many times, really turned my head throughout the preseason here, or not the preseason, the offseason, just by how he looks and the fact that they're taking a look at him as well to complement him at strong side linebacker as well as rush the passer, certainly special teams. Then you got some guys to check out. These are in the checkout department, guys, at training camp. Rookie Xavier Carlton, he's 6'6", 273. So he fits the bill in terms of measurements. Jamari Croma, who was on the practice squad last year as an undrafted rookie, and then undrafted rookie, 6'3", 264, Jeremy Robinson. He's out of Kansas, played with Austin Booker last year. So there's a lot to dig through.
You know what? One thing about the defensive line and Dennis Allen, because we're all going to get to know him once training camp starts, is the versatility that all these guys offer. To me, I've been a big believer that Javon Dexter Sr. could play outside. He could play edge on first and second down. And it seems like that's one of the things that Dennis Allen often says is that you got to be able to stop the run if you want to rush the passer. So I think if you're talking about Austin Booker, if he is in there on first down, he's got to show that he has the power, the leverage, and the get-off ability to be able to stop the run if they want to intentionally run the ball at him. And so all these guys, even Dio, he can play inside, but he can play outside as well. And he's got the similar template to what you just mentioned, the 6'6", 270-pound frame.
The length. Dennis Allen loves speed, but he loves length. Big, long, linear players as well, and they are going to crash off the line of scrimmage and get upfield. No two-gap and looking, Jimmy. They're going. They're coming after you. All right, we're going to take a break. Well, hold that thought. We got to take a break. When we come back, we got Tom's thoughts, and we'll get some Jim's thoughts as well. That segment coming up next here on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network. Welcome back to Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network. Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer, and Jim Miller as we continue to look at the Bears. And time for Tom's thoughts. Jim, we know we love Tom's thoughts. He penned some today. We're going to fire through them. Preseason playing time. He's not even waiting for the start of training camp. He's not waiting to the end of the OT. He wants to know, what can we do to answer the questions with preseason playing time? Tom, take it from there. What are your expectations?
Listen, it's going to be really important, and I don't think anybody out there, maybe Jim's talking about a guy like Montez Sweat or Grady Jarrett, but they're trying to learn a new system. The coaches are trying to learn a little bit something about them. They're trying to install a system and how that's going to fit into the regular season. So do the practices or the combined practices they go tell them enough so they don't have to play them in preseason games? Or do you have to take a guy like Caleb and DJ and Rome and Colston and these guys and play them a little bit more because they're not familiar with each other and Ben's trying to get to know them a little better? I think it's going to be really interesting when you're talking about a new coaching staff installing a new system with 3 preseason games, and how do you satisfy what you think these players need before they go out on a Monday Night Football field against the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah, especially the battles. You know, the battle at left tackle for one, strong side linebacker. How are you going to divvy up that stuff? It'll be interesting because, like you said, it's a first-time head coach.
What do you do with a guy like Jaquan Brisker? Do you play him in the preseason? Do you not play him in the preseason? Here's a guy that hasn't been on a meaningful football field in almost a year. So, there's just little decisions that you have to make that are going to factor out in the big picture of this football team, because you have a bye week in 5 weeks after the start of the regular season. So you got to get these guys ready to roll from week 1.
They'll be logging a lot of snap totals. I mean, whatever isn't covered or how much they've played in practice and maybe how they're evaluated, that they're going to know, hey, we need to get this guy more work. With this guy is not maybe that player X isn't caught up on some of the calls that we need defensively. We need to see him in more live action, or we need to increase their practice time. That's all going to be evaluated. Where, Dennis Allen and the defensive line coach is going to say, all right, Montez Sweat is right where he needs to be, his conditioning where it is, he's on point with the playbook and the calls. And then, of course, there's individually and then there's collectively as a unit that, hey, we need to be more together as a unit. Now, can that be done in practice time? Or maybe, like Tom said, maybe it's live action. It's got to be preseason action where the pads are on, it's full tackling, and we need to see these guys perform as a unit together, making the calls that they need so they get used to one another and they get used to this new system. So, it may be logging more, the kid gloves kind of got to come off. It's the old story. Oh, do we worry about injury? Well, you better worry about whether they can function as a unit, because those early games are going to mean a lot.
One thing about it is your early opponents, too, they're going to be doing some research and development about how they're going to game plan against you. And if they feel that you have some susceptibility to a new system that's being installed and you're doing things good or you're doing things not so good, those are going to be the guys looking at you early also.
All right, then my next one, I reduced it, Tommy, for purposes of time. What are your expectations, respectively, Jim and Tom, of the top 3 picks? Let's do the top 4 picks. Tight end Colston Loveland, Luther Burden the third at receiver, Ozzie Trapillo on the offensive line, and Ruben Hippolyte the second, the 4th-round pick at linebacker. Tom, go ahead.
I think every one of these guys, first of all, they have to impress the coaches enough to be able to make the team. But once they make the team, how are their reps going to be decided? Is Luther Burden a type of a guy that can come in here and be an asset at the receiver position to give the quarterback more options, or give Ben Johnson a little bit more versatility within the offense? Is Colston Loveland going to be up to speed after recovering from an injury to go out there and do the multiple components that a tight end can do for a football team? And Ozzie Trapillo, you're going to take a guy that is a right offensive tackle, and is he a good enough athlete to go out and play left tackle? You have to have certain traits, and you'll be able to see those things within the first couple weeks of training camp, I believe. And then, linebacker, running back, defensive tackle, those are guys that are going to be involved in reps. They're not going to hold down a singular position. They're going to be a part of a rotation.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to leave Turner out. We talked about him earlier. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, but, those guys, one, their health is going to determine it, too. Obviously,
Yeah.
Loveland hasn't been in there. He hasn't been practicing, and so he's behind. There's really no other way to say it. We'll see how quickly he can get caught up at camp. I do like Luther Burden. I think he's a guy that could be a burner, take the top off the defense type of thing, and he will have a critical role in certain situations, minimum, that he can help out the offense. And I think we know how competitive left tackle is. So Trapillo is a guy to keep your eye on. I just think as we know, the door is open there at left tackle. If I were Trapillo, I would be salivating coming to Bears camp right now. I mean, I would be in my playbook, doing everything I can, whatever weight room stuff I got to do. I would be just a madman as soon as, the Bears leave their, when they're able to leave the facility and go back home. Because if I'm Trapillo, for me or any of these rookies, it's time to get to work, because first impressions mean everything. And I would want to make a good first impression, especially at a position that potentially is up for grabs.
I had somebody send me a message. It's a Bears fan. He loves the pick of Hippolyte, compared him in some sense. Believe it or not, this is a name from the past, but Nick Bonacani, who was a 13th round draft pick by the Boston Patriots in the old American Football League and made it to the Miami Dolphins, and one of the best linebackers
went to Notre Dame and wore my number.
Oh.
Always a tie-in, Jim. He's got a tie-in to everything. No question about it. One more segment to go after this break on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly on the Bears Radio Network. Here's your host, the voice of the Bears, Jeff Joniak.
This segment of Bears Weekly brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or a virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Final segment. Close it out with some thoughts. The NFL.com's digital content editor, Jeremy Berman, penned a piece this morning on just how long it took franchises to turn things around and just win a playoff game. And it's always an education when you dive in like this. And this is just, again, underscoring how hard it is to win in the National Football. Buffalo in 2017 made the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. Cleveland won a playoff game for the first time in 23 years in 2020. 2021, Cincinnati won its first playoff game in 31 years. And, of course, the Detroit story, 2023, won their first playoff game in 32 years. Well, there are 6 teams, including the Bears, that have not made the playoffs in the last 4 years. That's a minimal amount of time, though the Bears have not won a playoff game since 2010. Atlanta, Carolina, Indy, New Orleans, Jets, and the Bears. I'd like to break that streak and get in the playoffs. And with a new coach and some surprise sucker punches you could throw to some opponents and get some early wins, pocket some wins. And if everything comes together, there's a lot of ifs there. But do you feel better about it than you did before you knew Ben Johnson and what he was going to be like as a head coach already? Because we're seeing a lot of positives.
I feel that Ben Johnson has the talent to mold into a playoff competitive football team, although the division is really a difficult division. We're not talking like some of those other teams that are starting from the basement and trying to amass enough talent to put them on a competitive level. I think the Bears have the talent to be competitive.
This should be probably one of the more talented offenses the Bears have ever had, in my opinion. They have a lot of things that they should be able to do very well. It's going to be how quickly the young quarterback picks it up, how quickly he grows, the volume he's able to handle, because I do think that the Bears offense is going to have to really cover for the Bears defense for a little bit. That's, I know Bears fans, monsters of the Midway and all the things, but hey, this team finished 27th in the league at stopping the run. And they've been held to task over and over again just due to poor offenses throwing them to the wolves with 3 and outs left and right. For once, I think this Bears offense has to protect the Bears defense for a while. And it's really going to be dependent on Caleb Williams to be up and running early for that to happen, for the Bears to have success early in their season.
Yeah, interesting points on both ends. All right, Tommy, you in a break said you had something. We were talking about off-season and all that and what you guys did. You said you would receive off-season gifts from who and why?
Oh, Notre Damers. Who knew Golden Domers got paid like that? Oh, what's that talking about, Tom?
We got a minute and a half, boys.
We are talking about the importance of the offseason, these players really what they have to do. So we used to spend all of our time working out up at Hallis Hall. And so at the end of the offseason, Clyde Emmerich used to make a determination that if he felt it and you put enough time and made enough improvement, that you would get a gift. And so you hear about these guys that spend $1 million or $700,000 on their body and all this stuff they get. My gift I got was a 12-inch TV that had a built-in VCR. And I thought it was the greatest gift I ever got, so much so that I brought it to training camp every year, and then 2 of my nieces brought it to college and used it as college. So, for what these players get now for these off-season incentives, for us, it was a 12-inch TV with a built-in VCR.
Jim, did you get anything like that in the offseason as a reward for your efforts?
No, I didn't get anything, especially something that could be a hand-me-down, not once but twice to nieces. I just got hey, good job, pat on the back. You were 100% at all the OTAs and good attendance. Keep it up.
Yep, keep it up. All right, that's going to wrap us up for this week. Good show, fellas. Thank you so much. Thanks to Dan Briley, Jordan Tredup, and Jake Santos in studio. For Tom Thayer and Jim Miller, I'm Jeff Joniak. This has been Bears Weekly on the radio home of the Chicago Bears, ESPN Chicago. Have a good night, everybody. Bleck and Abdallah are next. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon and Apple Podcasts. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Miller Lite.